Hello, and welcome to this week's lecture from Social Media Marketing. Today we'll be talking about the rules of engagement for social media marketing. This is chapter 4 in your book. By the time we finish this chapter, you should be able to understand the rules of engagement for using social media marketing. We also want you to understand the difference between permission and interruption marketing. Look at ways to describe the initial entry strategy of a passive versus active approach to getting into social media marketing. We will look at the principles for success in the engagement. You also should understand the rules of effective social media interaction. And we also will look at what does it mean to be ethical in social media marketing and how to make those ethical social media decisions. And then last, we will look at some best practices of social media marketing in a global environment, if you will. So as you can see on this slide here, we give you an outline of what the chapter covers. And so just make sure you look at this, make sure that when you get done, come back and review this or look at this slide again and say, okay, do I understand these different things? And I think that'll help you as you're reading through this and listening to this. So as you look at this slide, look at the top there where it says 1 of 4. And so for the next 4 slides, they're going to deal with this permission versus interruption marketing. So typically when you see marketing on TV or in a magazine, that's interruption marketing, where they interrupt you in order to get your attention. So it might be in a magazine, it might be that whole page when you can easily move past that in a magazine. And what people have been doing for, TV would be recording those shows so they can fast forward to past the commercials, if you will. This is not what social media marketing is. So you need to understand that when people see these ads, they understand that they're getting the content at either a reduced price or for free because they don't have to pay for that advertising. So as you think about interruption marketing some more, you think that those ads are primarily dealing with a product or service. And so the goal of the ad is to get you to think about that product or service. They also want you to reduce your information search costs. So if you can see the ad, then you'll stop looking and not go elsewhere. And so then with that ad, they're creating something that'll help you make that purchase and hopefully get you to the point where you'll do that and not look anywhere else and not think about anything else. And so for them, placement of where that ad needs to go is a predominant thing that they need to worry about. They also need to make sure that it gets to their target audience. And so when is that going to happen and where does that happen? The problem then with this interruption kind of marketing is that people are already tuning those ads out. So whether it be on the internet, when you look at something and the ads come up on the right hand side of the page, people don't look at those ads anymore. They kind of tune them out and they don't see them. And so there's been lots of research that shows that's what people are doing. And so if you have more and more ads that you're being asked to look at, you eventually come up with mechanisms to cope with that many ads. And one thing is to tune them out unless it's something you're really looking for. I know that sometimes when I do a Google search and it's something that I've looked for in the past, I might look at the ad just to see what is being sold and what's on sale. Now we flip to the other side where we'll talk about permission-based marketing. And so this relies on generating a relationship with that consumer that's out there and getting their permission to send them some kind of marketing. So examples might be, if you see here, this opting into an email newsletter. It's not like they're being sent that without them wanting it. Sometimes it might be following an account on Twitter where they might follow you so that they've opted in. They might also sign up for text messages. And because they've signed up for text messages, they might get additional content. But you, as your book says, and I would agree, is you don't want to overwhelm that person that's opted into your marketing, so to speak, or into your brand page. You overwhelm them with advertising. So sometimes you can think of this permission marketing as organic social media. And so if you look at this, you know, uh, figure 4.1, then we can see how this company called DollarShaveClub.com actually use the internet in order to get their product out to their consumers without being intrusive. So then when you're doing permission marketing, you got to remember that you're trying to get the attention from people who can go elsewhere if they don't like your product or they feel that you're not being genuine or that you're trying to pull a inappropriate marketing campaign against them. And so people, the research has found, people want something that's authentic, they're transparent, that whoever is communicating with them is showing some empathy and care. And so there's this respect back and forth between the customer and the consumer. But that doesn't mean that that's the only type of marketing you should do. You should still include the interruption type. And you can see here that the number of paid social media sites on these different applications and how much businesses are using them. So over 80% is used on Facebook. And so it is something that's, they interrupt you or try to interrupt you, and it is being used, especially on these most popular applications for social media. The next thing I want to talk about is the different types of way of engaging on social media. One way is passive, the other way is active. So with a passive strategy, you need to go out and search what people are saying about your product or service. So that also means listening, and then respond to them in a responsible way, not over the top. And so that way you're kind of getting a feel for what people are saying. You can respond back to say things like, thank you for using our product or service, but you don't want to bombard them with a lot of additional advertising and a hard sell out of that. And then from there, you can build on the relationship and build on the responses back to the customer. With the active strategy, then, what you're doing is engaging more in the conversation and using different media channels. And so you want to build a social media profile. You want to look for the key people that are influencing the conversation on those media profiles. So you want to connect to those influencers, establish a relationship with them, get them to respond back and forth on that media or application. So you want to get that conversation going without really having spent a lot of time listening and understanding to your audience. And so a lot of companies may start off with this active strategy without really understanding where they're at in terms of how their customers feel about them. And so it's always best to start slow and go for that passive strategy first, and then come back and do the active strategy. Next thing we want to talk about is the principles of success. And this is borrowed out of a book called The Next Evolution of Marketing, Connect with Your Customer by Marketing with Meaning by Bob Gilbreth. And so you want to think about what is it that the audience wants when it's trying to have a conversation with you or it's looking at your brand or service. So think about that. What is it they want? Try and give them what they want. And so when you think about why are people on the internet or why are they using this social media app, they're trying to either connect with people or they're trying to find some information or they're trying to be entertained. And so if you're trying to develop a good strategy, then you need to have one of these items in mind as to why you're entering that marketing through social media. And it'd be best if you could use all three. So the first thing they mentioned for being principles of success is being participatory. So you need to be able to participate and interact with your community, answer their questions, and thank those who respond. And a lot of times, companies will start up a social media site, they'll post some things, and then they just kind of walk away or forget to post things. And so now the audience who's been responding doesn't think you're there, and so they won't come back and visit the page. And so once you start the engagement, you got to continue the engagement. And so what you're after here then is showing that you're interested in your customers and people that are participating in that conversation, and show that you want to participate and be there as well. So examples might be responding to blog comments or tweets or Facebook posts or anything that mentions your brand or your product or service. So an example would be Taco Bell as a leader in social media by what they've been able to do. And so your book uses the example of a swim team that was on their social media site and asked to have some swim pants, Speedos made for them, and they created them, they delivered them, they posted things about them, and they generated um, thousands of responses. Now, those thousands of responses may not seem much, but think about it. If those people that responded and did a like also were in other networks of groups of people, then that message went viral and it got out to much more than just the few thousand of people that Taco Bell had initially got likes from. So then that's considered, a success for social media marketing. The second principle for success is be authentic. You don't want to get caught in lying or trying to manipulate your customers or the people that you're interacting with. You also want to make sure that your communication is very professional and personable. Even if it's on a negative comment, you don't want to respond back so that it generates a negative impact on you who's representing the brand, product, or service. And so be as honest as you can in your responses. You're trying to generate that authenticity, if you will. The third principle of success is resourcefulness. So here you want to be able to provide the customer what they're looking for. Maybe they've got questions or maybe they've got complaints. If you've spotted that, then you want to try and respond to that and not have them linger over their anxiety or what they're thinking about your brand, if you will. And so example would be how JetBlue uses Twitter to respond to their customers, whether it be positive or negative. And so you're trying to allow those visitors to share some feedback and then look at how the suggestions go from that feedback. Again, you want to provide the resources of what those customers are wanting. If they're angry, then you want to provide feedback in a professional and polite manner. If they're saying something nice, same thing again. Or if they've got questions, maybe their questions are the same as somebody else's that's out there but doesn't want to write it or would like to see your response. The next principle for success is credible. So you want to build credibility. Um, when you build your reputation, it's very important that you do that for knowledge and expertise. And that is used a lot in business to business type of e-commerce. You also look at building your trustworthiness. That is I keep saying you don't want to get caught trying to manipulate your visitors or customers. And if you do, then it's going to take a long time for you to overcome that and build that relationship back where they trust you again. It's just best try to avoid that at all times. So whatever you're doing with your social media marketing, think about how credible it is if some type of information were to get out. So the example your book uses is JetBlue, how it was successful, and then a Walmart example where it wasn't so successful when they had people going around the country writing positive things about not customer, but employees of Walmart's. And then come to find out the people that were writing this blog were being paid by Walmart. So that kind of destroyed any credibility they may have had. And so they had to work very hard in order to overcome that. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this portion right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about social media marketing and ethics.